The glowing red targeting reticle hovering over Commander Kayvon Namir's chest was invisible to everyone but him. Only recipients of the Vorzath death mark could see the pulsing crimson sigil that meant the most feared assassin guild in the galaxy had accepted a contract on their life. No one marked by the Vorzath had survived longer than 8 standard cycles, less than 3 Earth weeks. Kayvon stared at the mark in the reflection of his viewport, the vast darkness of space stretching beyond the reinforced glass of the UES. Defiance. His fingers trembled slightly as they brushed across the metal pinned to his chest. The silver star of valor earned during the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Now it seemed like a bitter joke. "Commander, the diplomatic shuttle from the Masari Confederation is requesting docking clearance," Lieutenant Evren announced from her station, pulling Kayvon from his dark thoughts. "Granted," he replied, voice steady despite the death sentence, floating above his heart. The Alliance needed this peace treaty with the Masari. After 15 years of brutal war against the Zinda Collective, humanity couldn't afford to fight on 2 fronts. What no one except Kayvon knew was that the Zinda had infiltrated the Masari leadership. The supposedly neutral confederation was nothing more than a puppet state, and the peace delegation aboard that shuttle was coming to collect intelligence, not negotiate terms. Kayvon had discovered this truth 3 days ago. The Vorzath mark had appeared the very next morning. "Sir," whispered his XO, Commander Rael Vask, as she approached his command chair. "Intelligence has confirmed unusual energy signatures from the Masari shuttle. Their hull composition appears modified." Kayvon nodded grimly. "Weapons? Likely," she replied. "But if we refuse their docking request, the Alliance blames us for sabotaging peace negotiations," Kayvon finished, "and the Masari have justification to join the war openly on the Zinda side." His eyes drifted to the tactical display showing the position of his ship, and the 7 other Alliance vessels clustered nearby for the peace summit. 8,000 souls, all placed deliberately in the perfect position for a devastating first strike. The crimson mark on his chest pulsed brighter, as if mocking him. "Commander?" Rael prompted, concern evident in her violet eyes. Kayvon made his decision. The tacticians and politicians had positioned the Defiance as merely one chess piece in a vast interstellar game. But chess pieces didn't know they were marked for sacrifice. They couldn't change the rules. He could. "Sound general quarters," Kayvon ordered, rising from his chair, "and get me a direct channel to Fleet Admiral Orissa." As klaxons began blaring throughout the ship, Kayvon permitted himself one grim smile. Maybe the Vorzath mark would claim him in the end, but not before he exposed the trap and saved the fleet. The Zinda and their puppets had just made a critical error. They'd marked a dying man for death, forgetting that someone with nothing to lose is the most dangerous opponent of all. The holographic projection of Fleet Admiral Orissa Valdez frowned deeply, her weathered face illuminated in blue light. "Commander Namir, you'd better have compelling evidence before making accusations against a potential peace partner." Kayvon fought to keep his composure as the Vorzath mark seared painfully against his chest. "The evidence is being transmitted now. Quantum entanglement patterns matching known Zinda communication protocols, metallurgical analysis of debris recovered from the Proxima engagement, showing Masari manufacturing signatures." Lieutenant Commander Adira Kalos approached with a data tablet. "Sir, the Masari shuttle has altered course. They're requesting emergency docking, claiming life support failure." Kayvon's eyes narrowed. "Classic infiltration tactic." "Your evidence is circumstantial at best," Admiral Orissa countered, though doubt had crept into her voice. "The diplomatic ramifications will be catastrophic either way," Kayvon interrupted. "But if I'm right, that shuttle is carrying enough weaponry to cripple the Defiance from within, creating a gap in our formation that the Zinda can exploit to hit the entire fleet." He leaned closer to the projection. "Admiral, scan the Paleos. Nebula. I believe you'll find a Zinda battle group hiding in the radiation field waiting for the signal. Admiral Orisa's eyes widened slightly before her military discipline reasserted itself. I'll dispatch scout drones. In the meantime, maintain the diplomatic protocol, Kayvon finished. I understand. The call ended, leaving Kayvon staring at empty space. The mark on his chest flared, sending waves of agony through his nervous system. The Vorzath were growing impatient. Commander, Ryle said softly from beside him, you look unwell. Kayvon straightened, ignoring the pain. I'm fine. Have tactical analyze that shuttle's approach vector. Something's off. As his crew scrambled to follow orders, Kayvon studied the fleet formation displayed on the main screen. 7 Alliance. Warships arranged in defensive formation around the diplomatic vessel Hand of Peace. The Defiance was positioned at the leading edge, the first to greet the Masari, and the first to fall if his suspicions were correct. Sir, Lieutenant Evren called out. Incoming communication from Admiral Orisa, Priority Alpha. The Admiral's hologram reappeared, her expression grim. Scout drones confirmed. Zinda battle group detected. 15 vessels moving into attack position. Orders, Admiral? Kayvon asked, already knowing the answer. Spring the trap, she replied. But, Commander, do it without starting a war with the Masari Confederation if possible. We need to expose the Zinda manipulation. The transmission cut as the ship rocked violently. What was that? Kayvon demanded. Rael's face paled as she checked her console. Internal explosion, Deck 12, near the shuttle bay where the Masari diplomats were being escorted. The red mark on Kayvon's chest pulsed in time with the ship's emergency klaxons. The Vorzath knew what he was attempting. They were accelerating. Their timeline. Seal all bulkheads between decks 10 and 15, Kayvon ordered. Deploy security teams in combat armor. The diplomats just showed their hand. As his crew rushed to respond to the attack from within, Kayvon stared out at the stars. The real battle was about to begin, and the pain in his chest reminded him that one way or another his time was running out. Sir, Ryle said, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. What's that on your chest? The crimson glow of the Vorzath mark had intensified to the point where it was bleeding through Kayvon's uniform. Rael's eyes widened as she stared at the pulsating symbol. A death mark, Kayvon admitted quietly. Placed 3 days ago. Understanding dawned in her eyes. That's why you've been pushing so hard about the Masari. You found something they didn't want exposed. Before Kayvon could respond, the tactical officer shouted, Multiple ships decloaking! Zinda signatures confirmed! The main view screen showed the nebula erupting with activity as the hidden battle group emerged. 17 warships, not the 15 the scouts had detected. They're jamming communications with the fleet, reported Lieutenant Evren. We're cut off. Kayvon's mind raced. The Vorzath mark burned like molten steel against his skin, but he forced the pain aside. Status of the Masari intruders. Security teams engaged on decks 11 through 13, Rael answered. Casualties reported. They're using some kind of phase shift technology to move through bulkheads. Kayvon nodded grimly. As expected, they're after the command codes for our fleet's automated defense network. Another explosion rocked the ship, this one far more violent than the first. Hull breach engineering section, shouted the damage control officer. Emergency force fields holding, but main power is fluctuating. Kayvon gripped the arms of his command chair as the tactical situation crystallized in his mind. The Zinda had orchestrated a masterful trap, saboteurs within to disable the Defiance's capabilities while their fleet struck from without. Once they had control of the Alliance's automated defense network, they could turn the entire sector's defensive installations against human colonies. And Kayvon himself had been neutralized with the Vorzath mark, a death sentence that had kept him distracted, fearful, and looking over his shoulder instead of seeing the bigger picture. Until now. Lieutenant Evren, prepare a tight beam quantum transmission to Admiral Orissa's flagship. Encrypt it with my personal authentication codes. Sir, with the jamming, it'll get through, Kayvon interrupted. The Zinda are blocking standard channels, but they wouldn't expect a direct quantum link. He turned to Riel. Commander Vask, you have the bridge. I'm going to engineering. Riel's eyes widened. Sir, with respect, that section's been compromised. Exactly. Kayvon's hand unconsciously moved to the burning mark on his chest. The Masari infiltrators are moving toward the primary command node. If they reach it, they'll have access to our entire defense grid. Then send a security team, Riel insisted. Kayvon shook his head. The security teams are being systematically eliminated. These aren't ordinary infiltrators. They're Vorzath operatives. The revelation hung in the air. For a moment, the Vorzath, feared assassins across the galaxy, working directly with the Zinda Collective. It explained the death mark, but raised far more disturbing questions about the true scale of the conspiracy. I know how they operate, Kayvon continued. I can stop them. What he didn't say was that the mark would kill him within hours anyway. The least he could do was ensure it wasn't for nothing. As he moved toward the turbolift, the ship shuddered under enemy fire. Sir, Riel called after. Him. The mark. Is there a way to remove it? Kayvon paused. No one escapes the Vorzath, but the Alliance might survive this day because of it. He stepped into the lift. If I don't return, execute Protocol Omega-7. The doors closed on Riel's shocked expression. Protocol Omega-7 was a last resort measure, scuttling the ship to prevent capture. As the lift descended toward the battle-damaged engineering section, Kayvon drew his sidearm and checked the charge. The mark on his chest no longer caused pain. Instead, it had gone cold, a numbing sensation spreading through his torso. The final stage before death. The lift doors opened to reveal a corridor filled with smoke and the bodies of his crew. Ahead, he could hear the distinctive high-pitched whine of Zinda energy weapons. Kayvon stepped forward into what would likely be his final battle. Marked for death, he had nothing left to lose, and everything to avenge. The acrid smoke stung Kayvon's eyes as he moved through the wreckage of engineering deck. Emergency lighting bathed the corridor in pulsing red, matching the rhythm of the death mark on his chest. The numbness had spread to his left arm, making his movements clumsy. 3 dead security officers lay sprawled near a junction, their armor showing the distinctive crystallization pattern of Zinda phase weapons. Kayvon knelt beside them, noting the precision of the kills, single shots to vulnerable points in the armor. Definitely Vorzath work. He retrieved a phase disruptor from one of the fallen officers and continued deeper into the damaged section. The ship's schematic in his neural implant showed he was approaching the quantum core, the heart of the Defiance's systems and the likely target of the infiltration team. A sudden silence fell as the distant weapons fire ceased. Kayvon pressed, himself against a damaged bulkhead, listening intently. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth, another symptom of the advancing Vorzath poison. Commander Namir, called a melodic voice from around the corner. There's no need to hide. We know you're there. The voice belonged to Masari Ambassador Lyric, the supposed leader of the peace delegation. Kayvon gripped his weapons tighter but didn't respond. Your death is already assured, Lyric continued. The mark guarantees it, but your crew need not share your fate if you surrender the command codes now. Kayvon closed his eyes, focusing past the spreading numbness. His neural implant showed 5 heartbeats ahead, 4 Masari infiltrators and 1 human prisoner. The latter's vital signs were weak but stable. If you're so confident in the mark, Kayvon called back, why bother negotiating? A soft laugh echoed through the smoke-filled corridor. Because time matters, Commander. The mark will claim you within the hour, but your fleet will be destroyed in half that time if you resist. The ship shuddered under another barrage from the Zinda fleet. Through his neural link to the bridge, Kayvon could sense the Defiance's shields weakening. "You've allied with the wrong side, Ambassador," Kayvon replied, edging closer to the junction. "The Zinda will discard the Masari once. They've served their purpose." "Perhaps," Lyric acknowledged, "but the Vorsath have chosen their side as well, and no one survives their attention." Kayvon's lips curled into a grim smile. First time for everything. He tossed a photon grenade around the corner, then dove across the junction as it detonated in a blinding flash. Through the white-hot glare, he spotted the infiltration team. 4 figures in Masari diplomatic attire, their holographic disguises disrupted by the grenade to reveal the chitinous exoskeletons of Zinda warriors beneath. Behind them, slumped against a console, was Chief Engineer Mira Call, the human prisoner whose heartbeat Kayvon had detected. Kayvon fired the phase disruptor in a wide arc, catching 2 of the disguised Zinda in the blast. They toppled with inhuman shrieks as their nervous systems overloaded. A searing pain lanced through Kayvon's shoulder as return fire grazed him. He rolled behind a damaged power conduit, the movement sending waves of agony through his mark-poisoned body. "The Great Commander Namir," mocked Lyric from behind cover. "Hero of Proxima Centauri, now reduced to futile resistance." Kayvon checked his wound. Superficial but bleeding heavily. The Vorsath poison was thinning his blood, preventing clotting. Another calculated effect of the mark. "You know nothing about me," Kayvon replied, trying to pinpoint the ambassadors. "Location through the smoke." "I know everything," Lyric countered. "I know you discovered our alliance with the Zinda. I know you transmitted evidence to Alliance Command. I know you were once considered for Vorsath recruitment before you chose your heroic path." That last revelation stopped Kayvon cold. Few knew of his past encounter with the Assassin Guild. How they had approached him after his parents' murder, offering vengeance in exchange for service. He had refused. "Is that why they accepted the contract?" Kayvon asked, inching toward a better firing position. "Old grudges?" A contemptuous laugh answered him. "The Vorsath don't hold grudges. They simply fulfill contracts. Yours was particularly expensive." Through the smoke, Kayvon finally spotted the disguised Zinda ambassador, crouched beside the main quantum core interface, attaching some kind of device to its surface. The realization hit him with terrible clarity. They weren't trying to steal the command codes. They were uploading a virus that would spread through the entire Alliance defense network once activated. Kayvon had one chance to stop it. The mark on his chest had gone from numb to burning hot again, signaling the final phase. His vision blurred, at the edges as the poison reached his brain. "You're right about one thing, Ambassador," Kayvon called out, his voice surprisingly steady despite the agony coursing through him. "No one survives the Vorsath." With those words, Kayvon lunged from cover, not toward his enemies, but toward Chief Engineer Call. As Zinda weapons fire tracked his movement, he grabbed the unconscious engineer and fell with her behind the quantum. "Core's massive shielding, not even you! What have you done?" Lyric's voice trembled with something Kayvon had never heard from a Zinda before. Fear. Lying behind the quantum core shielding with the unconscious chief engineer, Kayvon managed a painful smile as he tapped commands into his neural implant. The Vorsath mark on his chest had turned from crimson to an incandescent white, burning through his uniform entirely now. "Something no one has ever tried before," Kayvon answered, his voice raspy as the poison constricted his lungs. "I accepted the mark." On the bridge, Rael Vask stared in confusion at her console as Commander Namir's life signs fluctuated wildly. Then a message flashed across her screen. "Quantum linkage established. Protocol Sunflare initiated." "Sunflare?" she whispered. It wasn't any protocol she recognized. Meanwhile, in engineering, Kayvon held Mira Kal close, shielding her body with his own as he felt the Vorzath mark's energy building to catastrophic levels. The mark is designed to kill its target, Kayvon explained to the increasingly desperate Zinda infiltrators who were now frantically trying to complete their upload. But the Vorzath created it using quantum entanglement, the same technology that powers our starships, the same technology I've been studying since Proxima. Lyric abandoned the upload terminal and raised his weapon. It doesn't matter. You'll be dead in minutes, and we'll complete our mission. You still don't understand, Kayvon continued, each word a struggle as the poison advanced. I've synchronized the mark's quantum signature with your upload device. When it detonates, the realization dawned on Lyric's inhuman features. Impossible! Kayvon's neural implant flashed a confirmation. Quantum resonance locked. Countdown initiated, 30 seconds. The mark isn't just killing me, Kayvon said, his voice growing weaker. It's going to discharge its energy through every quantum-entangled Zinda system in range. Lyric abandoned all pretense of control, screeching commands to the surviving infiltrators in the clicking Zinda language. They scrambled to disconnect their device, but the quantum linkage had already been established. Through his neural implant, Kayvon sent one final message to the bridge. Riel, full power to shields, and get the fleet to pull back. When the mark detonates, it's going to cascade through the entire Zinda battle group. On the bridge, Commander Vask received the message with widening eyes. Maximum power to shields, she ordered. And signal the fleet to increase distance immediately. On. What authorization? Demanded the tactical officer. On the authorization of a dying man who's about to save us all, she answered, her voice breaking slightly. Back in engineering, Kayvon felt the countdown reaching its final seconds. The mark had spread its energy throughout his entire body now, turning his veins into glowing white lines beneath his skin. You were right about one thing, Ambassador, Kayvon whispered, as Lyric frantically fired his weapon at the shielding, protecting Kayvon and the engineer. No one survives the Vorzath. Mark. He closed his eyes. But sometimes, death is just the beginning. The mark exploded in a blinding flash of quantum energy, engulfing Kayvon's body. But instead of simply killing him, the energy channeled through his neural implant, following the quantum pathways he had established. The infiltrators screamed as the same energy manifested within their upload device, then spread to their weapons, their communication systems, their very bodies, all linked through quantum entanglement to the Zinda technology. Aboard the Zinda vessels surrounding the Alliance fleet, commanders watched in horror as their systems began to glow with the same white energy that was consuming the infiltration team. The Defiance shuddered violently as the quantum cascade expanded outward, but its shields, reinforced on Kayvon's final order, held against the tempest. The Zinda ships weren't so fortunate. One by one, they erupted in spectacular explosions as the quantum energy overloaded their systems. The careful ambush transformed into chaos as the attackers were consumed by white fire that spread from vessel to vessel through their linked communication networks. On the bridge of the Defiance, Rael Vask watched the enemy fleet's destruction with stunned silence. Then she turned to the damage control officer. Status of engineering deck? Massive energy readings, came the shaken reply. But containment is holding. Whatever happened down there didn't breach the hull. Rael nodded, slowly. And Commander Namir? The officer hesitated. No life signs detected in his vicinity. As the last Zinda ship exploded in a brilliant flare of white energy, Rael straightened her uniform and squared her shoulders. Send a search and rescue team to engineering, she ordered, and prepare a message to Alliance Command. Tell them Commander Kayvon Namir just changed the course of the war. The medical bay of the UES Defiance was silent save for the soft hum of regeneration equipment. 3 weeks had passed since what was now being called the Quantum Cascade, the mysterious event that had destroyed an entire Zinda battle group and exposed the Masari-Zinda conspiracy. Chief Engineer Mira Kahl sat beside the only occupied biochamber, her dark eyes fixed on the barely recognizable figure floating within the translucent healing fluid. "Any change?" asked Commander Riel Vask as she entered the medical bay. Mira shook her head. "His cellular structure continues to evolve. Dr. Alara says she's never seen anything like it." Riel approached the chamber, studying the unconscious form of Kayvan Namir, or what remained of him. His body had been nearly destroyed by the Vorzath Mark's detonation, yet somehow he still lived. White luminescent patterns coursed beneath his regenerating skin, following the pathways where his veins had been. "The Alliance Council has reviewed the evidence," Riel said quietly. "They've officially acknowledged the Masari Confederation's complicity with the Zinda. 17 other worlds have broken ties with them." Mira nodded absently. He knew. Somehow he knew everything they were planning. "Not everything," came a new voice from the doorway. Both women turned to see Admiral Orissa Valdez entering the medical bay, her uniform adorned with the formal insignia of Alliance High Command. "Admiral," Riel said, straightening to attention, "we weren't expecting you." "At ease, Commander?" Orissa replied, her weathered features solemn as she approached the biochamber. "I came as soon as the quantum physicists finished their analysis." She placed her hand against the transparent surface of the chamber. "The Vorzath Mark wasn't just an assassination tool. It was designed to interface with its target's neural system, to extract information before killing them. That's why no one ever survived it." "Until now," Mira whispered. "Until Namir turned it against them," Orissa confirmed. "He somehow reversed the quantum entanglement, using the mark to infiltrate the Zinda systems rather than allowing it to infiltrate his mind." The Admiral's expression shifted to one of grudging admiration. "We've recovered fragments of data from the destroyed Zinda vessels. They were planning something called Extinction Protocol, a coordinated strike against every major human world using our own defense systems against us." Riel's face paled. "If Commander Namir hadn't stopped them, humanity might have been facing its final hours," Orissa finished. "Instead, we've crippled the Zinda offensive capabilities and exposed their agents throughout Alliance space." A soft chime emanated from the biochamber, drawing their attention. The luminescent patterns beneath Kayvan's skin pulsed in rhythm with the sound. Dr. Alara rushed over, checking the monitors. "Brain activity is spiking," she reported. "And these energy readings, they're unlike anything I've recorded before." "Is he waking up?" Mira asked, hope evident in her voice. Dr. Alara shook her head uncertainly. "Not exactly. It's more like he's communicating." The main display screen on the medical bay wall flickered to life without anyone activating it. Lines of data began, scrolling across it, star charts, tactical information, and what appeared to be Zinda communication protocols. "He's connected to the ship's systems," Riel realized. "The quantum energy from the mark has somehow integrated with his neural implant." Admiral Orissa stepped closer to the screen, her expression grave. "This is intelligence on Zinda fleet movements, their entire strategic deployment." The scrolling data paused, and a single message appeared on the screen. "The mark transformed me. I can see them all now, connected through quantum space." "The war isn't over." The three women exchanged stunned glances. "He's conscious," Dr. Alara whispered. "But not in the traditional sense." Another message appeared. "Vorzath Central Command located. Sending coordinates. Prepare the fleet." Admiral Orissa's eyes widened as a star chart appeared, highlighting a previously unknown system, deep in unexplored space. "The heart of the Vorzath Guild," she breathed. "No one has ever found it. I am the mark now, and I have marked them all." The white patterns beneath Kayvon's skin intensified, casting the medical bay in ethereal light. The biochambers monitoring systems recorded impossible readings as the quantum energy continued to transform him. "What is he becoming?" Mira asked softly. Riel placed her hand against the chamber, matching her palm to where Kayvon's rested on the other side. Something they never anticipated when they marked him for death. Admiral Orissa straightened, decision made. "Commander. Vask, you're hereby promoted to Captain of the Defiance. Your first mission is to escort this vessel and its unique passenger to Alliance headquarters." A final message appeared on the screen. "The hunters have become the hunted. This is just the beginning." In the biochamber, Kayvon's transformed body pulsed with quantum light, no longer marked for death, but transformed into something that would bring death to those who had sought to destroy humanity. The luminescent patterns coalesced into a new symbol over his heart, not the Vorzath mark of execution, but a sigil of his own creation, a promise of retribution. Outside the viewport of the medical bay, the stars seemed to shift slightly, as if responding to his awakening consciousness. The quantum energy that had saved the fleet had changed him into something beyond human, a being connected to the very fabric of space-time itself. The tide had not just turned, it had become a tsunami, with Kayvon Namir, once marked for death, as its unstoppable center, and across the galaxy, for the first time in their ancient history, the Vorzath assassins felt something they had never experienced before. Fear.